Good morning. Welcome to Options Tender. It's Saturday, August 17th, 2024. My wife and I are on vacation right now. So the mic, we're not using a mic right now, so it may be a little bit more difficult to hear. But turn up the volume, and we got lots of important stuff to go through. Now that price has gone to extreme levels on the 65-minute, we have to update what our plan is, which it hasn't really changed that much. We're still looking at that 520 area. What we have to do is expect the unexpected. So that narrative changed. If we get new lows, that's much more bearish because of where price is going than we anticipated. So let's jump into it. We have the 2000 top, 21 top, and we're forming a top right now. So what we've been talking about over and over is whether we're going to test the top of this potential reversal candle, excuse me. So the big thing was, hey, are we going to go up, eke out a new high? I still think that's the most probable situation, but we have to determine where we're wrong and what the effects of that would be now that there's this massive bear setup here that has come into play now that price has gone so extreme. So that's it on the monthly. That's the bullish. We're still bullish momentum. Massive move there. And the VIX, wow, just crushed about 90% of its move, and that move was massive. So we have this consolidation area here, pushing off the 8 EMA and back into this reversal range. Still, none of the divergences have played out here on the higher time frames. So, clearly those still need to play out. So going down to the weekly, just a huge move. We didn't stop at any of these areas here that we were looking forward to. So we're back above the 8 EMA. We're showing a lot of strength. Here is the 2000 and 2021 top. We're getting back above that. I do think that we're going to see a rejection around this zone and a sharp pullback. Okay, I know it seems impossible, but this seemed impossible as well. So we have to keep an eye on that. Let's go over to the other board. So we hit our top here, and what we're kind of looking for is this zone going to hold the 520 on any pullback? Is this 520 zone going to hold? Okay, so we got our sharp move from our last target here back to the previous main target from the 20 to 2021 pullback here, and we went to extreme levels, hit those targets, had a nice reaction off of it, and now we're pushing back up. So the playbook that we talked about a few weeks ago, we were harping on it, and that playbook, we ended up veering off of there. I thought that we were going to test this low a little bit sooner than this large move here. But after this large move, this is the exact playbook of what is happening in this former high here. So just a reminder, with this high, I'll map this up for you and how this should look on the lower time frames, on the daily and the 65. And then just know, I will mention it later, but just know that we made a new high here after a top here. That would be our top here. Okay. And then we had this basically a volatility box that price jumped up over for a week and hit new all-time highs. The Qs, the triple Qs, did not. And then here I expect the same thing going into some of these time and price relationships. Okay, on the weekly, we're still looking for September 1st being some sort of good high or low. So we'll keep paying attention to that. Let's go to the daily. On the daily time frame, you have the 2000 top here, 2021, jumped back above it. So we're kind of just we're just oscillating around it right now. We're trading around it. And this is the wedge, the bullish rising wedge that we filled out, broke down, and really it's just another back test. So we back tested earlier with the smaller back test, had that massive drop and just a V snap back here, back testing that trend line again. So I'm not going to be paying attention to a whole lot of these diagonals. We talked about that in earlier videos. These diagonal trend lines, and even back here, this is kind of the box that I drew out for this one a long time ago. They stopped working. So the trend lines were up here, and you draw different ones. The price was just trading right through them. So it was basically sideways in that aspect. So we're going to stop paying so much attention to the diagonal trend lines or pivots, and notice just the sharp move. That was the initial move. Massive move where price retraced over 90% of the initial move to the downside, and then retested the bottom again. It just overpassed the 80% mark, and then snapped right up to new highs, and then eked out another new high after a small consolidation. So this is an ending diagonal. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move in this structure here. So that's our playbook. That's our playbook over here. We had our initial move down, and then our snapback for wave 1. We're looking for a sharp wave 2, snapback up to wave 3, basically a sideways range where it's very choppy, but extreme moves choppy. You know, when you say it's choppy, sometimes you're looking for little things like this, extreme back and forth. So that's what we're looking at. So we back tested this trend line. Now we're looking for a nice test of the lows to make sure. And when I show the alternate scenario for the bears, you're going to see why this potentially could be so sharp into the downside, and it possibly even lower. But we're going to keep this 520 line in the sand. We get underneath it, we're going to start getting much more bearish. So we're playing to the downside either way. But if it starts to break the lows here, we'll have to look for either divergence, but I don't think that's the case. If we start breaking lows, I think we're going much further and much farther. And it's because of this setup, because we had such a big move. All right, and here is the situation. So digging in a little closer, what I would have to do for the alternate scenario, if we started to go much lower, I take all this. Let me start off with what we think is happening. Right now, I think this is an ABC. Very bullish and very shallow for a wave 4. We're getting our initial wave 1 into some time relationships here this weekend. So I'm going to take those off because we are in those right now. And we should see a top here going into Monday or Tuesday. This could be the top candle right here with a gap down Monday or going into Tuesday if price wants to go a little bit higher. The same playbook of what we were just talking about from 2021, price got all the way up here. So the 558 is still in play. 559 if you want to round off. Sharp move down to test that 520 area. And then we'll be looking for a 3, 4, 5 up here into time and price relationships, which we have a good one right here. And I'll show you why that looks good later on too. So these are all going to be sharp moves and very steep that we'll be looking for. Obviously, if price action doesn't follow that path, we'll have to adjust as needed. And that's why I'll do these videos just about every single day during the trading week. And then our alternate scenario on this time frame to take a look at would be, and I'll show you on the lower how we can count it, but really it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leading diagonal where this is a wave 1. All right, and this is such a sharp pullback to the 786. That's a very valid 1, 2 bear setup. And that would mean that wave 3 would be much, much lower, being the most powerful wave 3. You would be able to tell after it broke the lows, it would just continue to free fall. So that's the characteristic we'd look for. And so when we get around to these areas, if and when, I should say, we get around to these areas, just be very cautious. Make sure you have your put protection if you're going long. If you're going short this whole time, make sure you have your call protection going into some of this 520 all the way down to the 510 lows, testing of the lows. Okay, let's go to the 65, and we'll take a look at Qs also, just to give a perspective. We'll clean up these charts a little bit. So I started working on them here, and this consolidation didn't work out for us. Price action kept going higher. We're testing this breakdown candle high, so basically just a V-shaped recovery there. So again, not using a whole lot of the diagonal lines. We had a two-touch trend line, downtrend line, that price just ignored and got back above. So now we're looking at this channel, broke above the channel, holding on top. And if we see this breakdown, possibly go up to the 588, that's this former top over here. And we could break down from this. And if we get that nice sharp move, I would suspect, let me draw this in here, and I'll change this each time we were looking for a move down right there. And now we're looking for a reversal into this zone here. And price should be pretty sharp to the downside. And we'll be looking around that 520 area. And we have Powell, not FOMC. We have the Jackson Hole speech on Friday. So I suspect if we have a pretty gnarly down move this coming up week, that Powell will kind of fix things with some words, whatever he says, and then we'll be looking for a low to be into the next FOMC. And so this will be our target area above here, and it could go higher, but that would be the back test of this same trend line that we're potentially back testing right now. Okay, so we're looking for that 520 low. That's also a gap area. And then after this would be the top. But I'm not looking for the Qs to make another high. I think that impulse wave is done. And I'll show you what that might look like. So notice this still could look corrective. Notice how this looks like an A, B, and this will go C. But just like the other playbook that we're talking about from 2021, we just had a slight wave 4 and 5 into this area here. And, just looking back at that, we kind of switched off of it. It seems like such recency bias that, it would play out exactly or very similar to that sort of pattern, but it's working out that way already. And so that's what we're going to go with. That's what price is telling us. So here's what we're looking at on this frame, an A, B, C for wave 4. And we're looking at 1, 2 into some of these time relationships here, which would be the Jackson Hole speech right around this area, this cluster. And our highs have been around the FOMC 918 area here. So I think that we'll probably top on FOMC. They're probably going to do It could be right before but around this zone, I think they're looking to pivot, and with that pivot, we'd get a high, maybe even a spike to fake, and then go lower. This isn't our price target. That's just eking out a new high. That's why we just have it there. But it could go up to some other targets, and we'll look at those targets while we come into play, and we'll have to pay attention to where the Qs are at the time too. So let's jump over to the Qs. Let's start off with the daily. This daily time frame, right now we're back testing the 2000 top, the 2021 top. So this is an excellent place for price to reject off of. And for this one, we had a nice channel there. And we're going to pay attention to the Qs because the Qs have just been spot on with where their targets are. They're at the 50-day moving average. So I think a nice back test, a sharp move into Friday, a back test into this trend line here would be a good spot, even if it spikes through and gets down to the 446 or even this low 443. Anywhere in that zone, I think that would be a good pullback area for a sharp move. But we'll see where price holds on the Qs, because if the Qs stop moving down, then the market likely is going to follow whatever the Qs do. So here's 823 right here. So I mean, that lines up clearly with the trend line and that price action around the 446, but with volatility, you always get spikes. So that would be a good spot, 446, to pay attention to. And the low here, just about 443. All right. So we'll be looking for a sharp pullback, not as deep as SPY. And let's go ahead and go to the 65 and frame this out. So on the 65, yeah, that potential channel, we broke out from it, pull back into this zone here, about 443 and a half. If it lines up perfectly with this trend line here on the lower time frame, going into Jackson Hole speech, and then I suspect a lower high. We already have our impulse move here from the Qs, and so we're looking for a lower high, which possibly on extreme moves could close this gap. That's what we're kind of keying in on. And see, this thing has just been working out perfect, and the Qs just gotta, sometimes it just takes over and just works out so technical. This was the head and shoulder that we played out, and it played out further than expected. Ripped back up just to back test this area. Also, the confluence with the 2000 top there, trend line. So we're looking for this reversal. Nothing goes in a straight line. Pull back for an A. Let me pull out the other board here. And so it's going to look obviously corrective, just like SPY does. But this one is going to be an actual just corrective, getting a lower high here. Okay, so I can change these back, and I want to emphasize because we pulled all the way back to the 62% golden ratio on this potential one. So this is a 5-wave move down here. This impulse move. This is going to be a wave 1. Technically speaking, this was an A, B, C. And obviously, if we see price hold above 473, then we're looking for the next level before a reversal. So this would be a 1, and this potentially could be a wave 2. But we still have 2 gaps above us. I don't think they're going to leave both of them open, or at least get partially through. So I imagine the snapback here going back into about this zone here, 449, and we have that 443.5 perfectly, which coincides with that channel. So the Qs, I think, are the key to watch for in that 520 zone on SPY. And so coming into this pullback, we'll actually be looking for a larger A, an ABC into A, and B, and a C up here, potentially all the way up to the 88.7% move. Massive moves, but we're forming a top because SPY is going to be higher in all-time highs. Okay, so this is when I think the tech move really starts to fade out and starts to reverse, with maybe the other markets lifting SPY just a little bit more because they have more of a retracement to head into. All right, but like I said, if these things start breaking down to the downside, this in some sort of major catalyst has happened. This is it. This is both are very technical moves that could be complete. This is a 1-2 setup. All right, so it's a beautiful 1-2 setup, and there's probably going to be a lot of bears that are already playing this, not expecting a complex move here. Okay, this is a flat pattern that I'm expecting. This is a 3-wave move up for A, a 3-wave move down for B, and we'll be looking for an impulse wave, a 5-wave move up. It could be ending diagonal, it could be anything, but an impulse wave up to much deeper price levels going into FOMC towards the latter part of September, middle of September, I think 9/18. So that's what I wanted to show you. I'm not going to go on any further here. We'll update more on Monday as we see what price action does. And then again, it'll be a short video because we'll be traveling on Tuesday. So I'll try to keep in touch and leave a few posts if I see anything significant. But we definitely want to keep an eye on this zone. So thanks for joining us here, Options Center. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.